Hello, well, welcome back. It's been a few weeks, and I hope your Wednesdays went well over that time. We're going to be looking this afternoon at a poet we haven't heard from before, the rather neglected Scottish poet Edwin Muir, who died in 1959. And actually, the majority of the poems that he's remembered for were written in the last years of his life. So it's highly appropriate that we look at a poem about Abraham, written by Edwin Muir. One of the core ideas in the Bible about Abraham is that of a wanderer whose journey in this life was never complete. At the Passover, and following the writings in the book of Deuteronomy, the words are said, "My father was a wandering Aramean." Abraham was a wanderer through place and through life. Now, wandering, in a sense, is something that we all do. And here is a famous painting by Caspar David Friedrich called The Wanderer. Have a look at it for a moment. The wanderer here, well, we can't see his face. He's right at the top of the mountain, a mountaintop experience, but the view isn't entirely clear. A lot of it is hidden, a lot of it is misty, a lot of it is mysterious. It might be quite unsafe, actually, coming down from there. And perhaps our journey through our Christian life often feels a bit like that. Some things that we can see are clear, some things are solid. But other things often seem confusing, misty, hard to get to grips with. And although this process can start at any age, it often happens when we get a little older. And as we get older, we can begin to shoulder the burdens both of consolation, seeing some things clearly and in a better way, but also of regret, perhaps things we did, perhaps things that we said as we walk along life's road. But the things that we said may, unknown to us, have brought blessing to others. We can't tell. The things that we did that we may regret may in time have proved of unbelievable worth. God is there in the unfolding of those things and loves us still and throughout. We are, even though the world is lovely, the start of autumn, the start of the turning of the leaves, the autumn breeze, is a lovely time of year. It's been reflected in the introduction to Tandem this month. Although the world is lovely, we may come to the realization that we are, like Abraham, wanderers, aliens, and strangers. That we have been, like Abraham, entrusted with a promise that we long to be fulfilled, and as people of the promise, we still seek something else, its fulfillment, and so we travel on. Listen to this reading from the 11th chapter of the letter to the Hebrews. It was by faith that Abraham obeyed when God called him to leave home and go to another land that God would give him as his inheritance. He went without knowing where he was going, and even when he reached the land God promised him, he lived there by faith, for he was a foreigner, living in tents, and so did Isaac and Jacob, who inherited the same promise. Abraham was confidently looking forward to a city with eternal foundations, a city designed and built by God. All these people died, believing what God had promised them. They didn't receive what they had been promised, but they saw it all from a distance and welcomed it. They agreed that they were foreigners and nomads here on earth. Obviously, people who say such things are looking forward to a country they can call their own. If they had longed for the country they came from, they could have gone back. But they were looking for a better place, a heavenly homeland. That is why God is not ashamed to be called their God, for he has prepared a city for them. We too have this promise. It's now and it's around us and we live in it. It's not pie in the sky. It's a promise of sustaining. It's a promise of being able to catch something from afar, which is the glory that surrounds us and the glory with Christ that awaits us. Now, autumn is coming. And like the woman in the picture, as the leaves fall, we can be full of those regrets. But from and through Abraham's wanderings come, as St. Paul says in his letter to the church in Galatia, the gospel, life, promise, blessing, and even though it wasn't realized, wonder. Here's the poem. The rivulet-loving wanderer, Abraham, through waterless wastes, tracing his fields of pasture, led his Chaldean herds and fattening flocks with the meandering art of wavering water that seeks and finds yet does not know its way. He came, rested, and prospered, and went on, scattering behind him little pastoral kingdoms, and over each one its own particular sky. Not the great rounded sky through which he journeyed, that went with him, but when he rested changed. His mind was full of names learned from strange peoples, speaking alien tongues. And all that was theirs one day he would inherit. He died content and full of years, though still the promise had not come, and left his bones far from his father's house in alien Canaan.